Good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Lowe. We are going to start today off with lesson 14.3, solving problems using ordered pairs. So it's going to be very much a continuation of what we've been doing over the last couple of days. Other than today, you're really going to have to pay pretty close attention, lots of story problems, so we're going to kind of take our time, go through. So let's take a look at a couple of practice problems, just so you have an idea of what you are looking at. So we have problem number 1 here says, find the missing coordinates and tell what point or what the point represents. In order to figure out the missing coordinates, you must click on the coordinate graph. So as I look at this, and I can kind of slide it over a little bit, and I want to look at this, it says compare vehicles made at a factory. My x-axis, which goes across the page, is the number of trucks that are produced. My y-axis, which goes up and down, are the number of cars that are produced. So to go and look at this, and I look at this and I say, okay, well, here's a point right here that is 200 on the x, 300 on the y, 200 here, 300 here, which is really, really good. That means that if there are 200 trucks made, that means there are 300 cars made. We need to figure out what this number is right here. First thing I want to do is to take that dot and follow my finger all the way down until I reach the x-axis. So that gives us 600 on the x-axis. Again, I take it here and I follow it all the way down to where it lands at 600. And then I want to take that dot again and follow it to the left all the way over to where it lands. So, hey, wait a second, Mr. Lowe, there's no number there. Well, let's look at our scale here. So I go 0, skip a line, 200. This line right here has to be 100. So it's 100, 200, 300, 400. That should be 500. And I'm going to write that in there just for giggles. So 500. So up here in my coordinate, I am going to type the correct coordinates. Now, what I recommend you do is write off of your keyboard. So rather than, let me get rid of some of this stuff. Rather than use this thing right here, let's go ahead and use our keyboard. So I want to open this back up, and I know that the x value on this dot is 600. And I use my comma, whoops, I forgot my parentheses, left parenthesis, 600, comma, and I slide all the way over until I hit my y-axis, and that is at 500, close parenthesis, click return, and I get a fantastic. Now comes the, not really the hard part, but the part that you got to kind of think about. It says, what does this point mean? 600, 500. Well, it means if there are 600 trucks produced at a factory, there are 500 cars produced. So I put a 600 here, tab over, and I put a 500 here, hit return. I get a good job, and now I can go on to the next one. We're going to move a little bit quicker. Most of the problems are going to be somewhat like this. There will be a couple that'll be a little bit more difficult. So here's one. Find the missing coordinates. So that's the first thing I got to do. Tell what it means. So I have graphs of jars of jam made. Grape jam and cherry jam. I prefer strawberry jam because that tastes a lot better than cherry jam, but that's just me. Anyway, here's how we read these coordinates. If there are 100 jars of grape jam made, there are 50 jars of cherry jam made. So to figure out this x and y, I go over to this point and I want to go down first. Find the x value first. Follow it straight down. That gets me to 300. So I'm going to go over here, open parenthesis, 300, comma. Go back to that red dot, and now I want to move to the left until I get to whatever number is between 200 and 300. That should be 250. Close my parenthesis. Click OK. I get a good job. Now, let's look and see what it means. When blank jars of grape jam are made, blank jars of cherry jam. Well, if this represents 300 and this represents grape jam, I can say when 300 jars of grape jam are made, 250 jars of cherry jam are made. And I get another well done. So good for me. Now comes the next question. This is where it gets a little bit more difficult. It says, which of the following correctly shows two other points on that line? So I need to look at each one of these individually and check and make sure that the points are correct. So I look at this point here, and this is at 150. Well, there's 100 on the X, 50 on the Y. That point checks out. This could be our answer, but let's check the other ones. I move up, and I have 200 and 150. I go down, there's 200 on the X, there's 150 on the Y. I move up, I have 250 and 200. There's 250 on the X and 200 on the Y. I move up, and this says 350 on the X. I go down, there's 350 on the X and 300 on the Y. And that one checks out. Still want to make sure, just to double check. This one is 400 on the X and 350 on the Y. And again, all I'm doing is following. I'm using the pointer on my computer. You guys probably can use your fingers or maybe the backs of your pencil. So we go to this dot. This dot is supposed to be at 400 and 450. I scroll all the way down. 400, not 450, 400 and 350. This dot right here. 400, 350. This dot supposed to be at 400. Hey, wait a second. That's not at 400. That's at 450. So it is not A. Now you have to move over to B and do the same exact thing, guys. You want to check each and every point on the line. X-axis first, Y-axis second. This dot's at 100. This dot's at 150. This dot's at 200. This dot's at 350. This dot's at 400. This one is at 450. This one is at 500. So all the X values check out. Let's see if the Y values check out. Y is 50. Y is 50. Y is 100. Y is 100. Y is 150. 300. 350. So far, so good. 400 and 450. I'm guessing that it is going to be B. And let's check our answer. Nice work. Biggest thing here is you got to go slow and you have to check each of these points. Okay, each one. For each number of jars of jam, there are blank jars of cherry jam. Well, let's see. Jars of grape jam. For each number of jars of grape jam, there are blank. So what's the difference between my X and Y? If there's this many cherry jam or grape jam, 100, there's only 50 cherry jam. That's a difference of 50. 200 to 150, that's a difference of 50. 250 to 300, that's also a difference of 50. So we can say pretty definitively that there are 50 jars less or fewer. For each number of grape jam, there are 50 fewer jars of cherry jam. You want to make sure you're going slow, you're taking your time. Each of these questions can be read very, very carefully. You only have 7 of them to work through. Not all of them are going to involve points on a coordinate grid. So keep working. If you finish early, you are to work on Khan Academy. So I don't think anybody is done with Khan. Everybody's moving on to Khan Academy then. All right, have a great day.